All right, guys. So, Robbie Anderson, number one wide receiver for the New York Jets last couple seasons, has just signed a 2-year contract worth $20 million with the Carolina Panthers, okay? First initial gut reaction here. I really feel like 2 years, $20 million for Robbie is, I think that's a really, really, really good deal for Carolina, and I'm shocked that the Jets did not match that. $10 million for a guy that was asking for 13 to 14 million. And so he came down in price and we still couldn't match. Now we have a problem at wide receiver. We had a problem at wide receiver, even assuming Robbie would be back. But now that he's gone, now we have to replace a deep threat. Okay, Robbie Anderson possesses great speed on the outside. So what is Carolina getting? Carolina's getting a blazing fast wide receiver who's going to take the top off of defenses, make the safeties play kind of on their heels a little bit, and really scare defensive coordinators. Okay, you cannot let Robbie Anderson get behind the defense, because if you do, quarterbacks are going to hit him in stride. Okay, and it's not Teddy Bridgewater's strength to push the ball vertically downfield on deep balls, but you know what? It's not Sam Darnold's strength either, and Robbie still made an impact. Okay, caught a lot of touchdown passes, has a lot of yards. And he's not Julio. He's not a Michael Thomas. He's not a DeAndre Hopkins by any means. But he's still a solid, really good wide receiver in this league, okay? So Carolina, I got to be honest with you, they stole him. Okay, 2 years, $20 million for Robbie Anderson. Now he's reuniting with Matt Rule, his old coach over at Temple. Really good move for Carolina. As far as the New York Jets go, like I said before, now we have to figure out the wide receiver position even more. My honest prediction, I probably think the Jets are going to try to do a quick fix and try to sign one of these guys like a Philip Dorsett, like a speedy guy who they're going to try to bend and form into a makeshift Robbie Anderson, if that makes sense, right? Like, so they're going to try to mirror his production or mirror his skill set by just paying less money. And probably, committing less years too as well. Even though a 2-year contract is barely anything at all. But I'm actually surprised. I'm really, really surprised that the Jets were so willing to let this guy walk out of the building for $10 million annually on a 2-year deal. So say next season he just sucks and he's horrible, you could probably just release him. That's 1 year. You're not locking into a 5-year mega deal like a Jadeveon Clowney. He turned down a 5-year, $17 million deal from the Miami Dolphins. You're not locking into a deal like that. It's a 2-year deal. Honestly disappointed. So now we have to turn our attention to the draft. Who are a couple guys that could replace or give us production on the outside? A couple guys come to mind. Actually, a lot of guys come to mind. In the first round, we have 3 candidates, assuming we stay at 11. Number 1, Henry Ruggs out of Alabama. Kind of a really, really similar wide receiver to a Robbie Anderson. A little shorter, kind of more built like a Tyreek Hill as opposed to a Robbie Anderson where he's so tall and thin. Really, really productive player. I think Ruggs can be a very, very, a really nice asset to a team. Then, of course, CeeDee Lamb out of Oklahoma. Probably the most electric player in this draft. Very, very enticing player. I got to be honest with you. If he's sitting there at number 11, no matter who else is on the board, my gut is telling me we need a lightning rod on offense, okay? Because all of a sudden, if we get a guy like CeeDee Lamb in the building, that opens up holes for Le'Veon Bell, and we don't just become this team that has Le'Veon Bell and then absolutely nothing. And I know, Jamison Crowder and stuff like that, but still, with Crowder, with Bell last season, we were a horrible offense. So CeeDee Lamb, very, very obtainable. Next up, Jerry Jeudy, right? Probably the best route runner in the draft. Creates separation. Solid guy. Probably one of my favorite players in the draft. And I kind of have the CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy as like a 1A, 1B, or, Judy's 1A and Lamb's 1B. I always flip-flop between the two. I feel as though Lamb would just be a better systematic fit for the Jets offense, what Adam Gase wants to do as far as bubble screens and slants and getting the ball out of Darnold's hands quickly. So those are some options in the first round. Lamb, Jeudy, and Ruggs. Next up, second round, who could be available. First guy I want to talk about is Michael Pittman out of USC. He's kind of like the buzz or the trendy wide receiver at the moment, because that's the guy that all the Jets fans are talking about because his connection of with Sam Darnold playing together in college. Obviously went to USC as well. He's tall. He's a red zone threat. Wins nice. He does a really nice job on one-on-one matchups on the outside. Obviously, he's going to be, looked at in the second round. Another guy, Denzel Mims out of Baylor. Another guy who I think a lot of people are sleeping on right now. This is a dude who's like a long, rangy guy who tends to make people miss in the open field. I like Mims a lot, and I would not be surprised if you start to see him kind of creep up into the first round, maybe to a team like Minnesota, because they now have 2 first-round picks. Then who else? We got Jalen Reagor out of TCU, a guy who's a shorter, really, really, really physical wide receiver. And I feel like out of all these guys I mentioned, in the second round, he's probably the most realistic to be on the board at this point in time, because the Jets have like a mid-second round pick. So Reagor's a guy who, he's honestly like a lot like a Tyreek Hill. He's kind of shorter, but he's physical. He has a crazy vertical, great hands, electric, explosive player for TCU. And then if you're kind of thinking like maybe third or fourth round, we got Tyler Johnson, my personal favorite wide receiver out of this draft, out of Minnesota. I'm not saying he's the best, but he's definitely my favorite. Okay, he does kind of remind me of like a Jarvis Landry type of wide receiver. Really works well in crossing patterns, slants, just kind of get him the football and like let him do his thing. Oh, one more guy who I actually completely forgot to mention was KJ Hamler at Penn State. Short, little shifty guy who, would also probably help out on special teams now that I'm thinking about it. But KJ Hamler, everybody keeps saying, oh, he's a third or fourth round guy. And yes, that might be true. But I think there's going to be a team out there that maybe takes KJ like middle to top of the round of the second round. Okay, I think there's going to be a team like Indianapolis or one of these teams that have a really good scouting department that are going to look at KJ's skill set and say he fits what we want, or he fits like the new wave or the new style of where the NFL is going. He's going to be a really productive player. Maybe not year 1, but you're definitely years 2, 3, and 4. So KJ Hamler out of Penn State is another guy to look for. So I'll leave it there. Let me know your thoughts. Robbie Anderson going to Carolina on a 2-year contract. And thanks so much for watching, and go Jets.